Welcome to NTD Newsroom. I'm Fiona G. Both the Democratic and the Republican presidential campaign are hitting battleground states this week. We'll have the latest updates on that. Fulton County District Attorney Fani Willis argues that her office should be allowed to continue the prosecution of the former president. California's governor is calling on agencies to remove homeless encampments. He says he will redirect money if local agencies can't reduce homelessness. Tragedy strikes as a listeria outbreak linked to Boar's Head deli meats claims 3 lives. With 43 people now sickened, the CDC investigates the deadly strain. Boar's Head recalls millions of pounds of meat, and lawsuits are already underway. And a dramatic explosion takes place at one of the busiest ports in China. Witnesses say shockwaves could be felt half a mile away. As the Paris 2024 Olympics comes to a close, U.S. athletes and supporters look back on their memorable experiences. Some say the French capital has set the bar high for the next games, which will be held in Los Angeles. We're now headed into the last 3 months of presidential campaigning before the general election in November. Here are the latest on former President Trump and Vice President Kamala Harris's campaigns. We're now headed into the last 3 months of presidential campaigning before the general election in November. Here are the latest updates on former President Trump and Vice President Kamala Harris's campaigns.
The National Weather Service announced flood warnings and watches have been issued from the Carolinas to New England Friday. Rainfall amounts are expected to reach 15 to 25 inches in some areas, which could lead to catastrophic flooding impacts through Saturday morning. In the aftermath of Debby, many residents are left dealing with severe flooding, now facing the task of cleaning up and repairing the damage.
We are waiting for the water to go down so we can help everybody get their stuff cleaned up and get back in their buildings and see what damage is done. The drains are working pretty good right now. The water's going down really fast. We're just praying that we don't get any more rain.
The remnants of Debby brought heavy rain and flooded roads to Washington, D.C., where a tornado warning was briefly issued on Friday. But Debby has weakened since its first arrival in the U.S. It downgraded to a tropical depression on Thursday after making a second landfall in South Carolina. Debby has further downgraded to a post-tropical storm on Friday, with winds of 30 miles per hour. At least 8 fatalities have been confirmed due to Debby so far. The most recent fatality happened Thursday night. A 78-year-old woman was killed by a falling tree that struck her home in Brown Summit, North Carolina. The highest risk of heavy rainfall and flooding extends from central Pennsylvania through northern New York State into Friday night. A tornado watch remains in effect until the afternoon for areas from northeastern Maryland to southern New York State. Christina Corona, NTD News.
And Israeli forces took out another Hamas leader today. The attack happened in Lebanon. According to Hamas sources, Samar al-Hajj was killed and his bodyguard was injured in the strike. Al-Hajj had worked in a nearby Palestinian refugee camp. Israel has been going after Hamas, Hezbollah, and other terrorists inside of Lebanon alongside the war in Gaza. Last week, Hezbollah's top military leader was killed in an Israeli attack outside of Beirut. A short time later, another Hamas chief was killed in Tehran. Iran's proxy terrorist groups like Hezbollah blame Israel for the attacks, vowing revenge. And Austria's interior minister today said that a third teenager has been arrested in connection with a foiled attack on a now-canceled Taylor Swift concert. An 18-year-old was taken into custody yesterday in Vienna in the evening and is allegedly had been in contact with the main suspect.
I can inform you here today that another person was arrested yesterday evening. An 18-year-old Iraqi citizen was arrested in Vienna. This Iraqi citizen comes from the social environment of the 19-year-old main offender. he was in contact with him. But, according to the state of the investigation, he is not directly connected to the attack plans. But there was indication that he took an oath of allegiance to ISIS a few days ago, specifically on 6th August.
The Austrian chancellor said authorities broke up an ISIS cell which aimed to create a bloodbath at a Taylor Swift concert. The 19-year-old main suspect and a 17-year-old were arrested Tuesday. Another 15-year-old was also interrogated but not arrested. The State Department said yesterday that the U.S. has been in touch with the Austrian government over the issue of an alleged plotted strike. The department spokesperson didn't confirm whether the U.S. provided intelligence.
So I certainly wouldn't want to speak to or confirm any kind of intelligence information. We have been, and when I say we, the broader United States government has been in touch with the Austrian government. The State Department has been in touch with the Austrian government. And I think it's important to say one other thing about this, which is we do commend the very swift action that they took to disrupt what could have quite obviously been a very serious incident.
Officials said yesterday afternoon that no additional suspects were being sought. They didn't immediately offer further details today. 3 sold-out concerts were canceled Wednesday because of the plot, devastating Taylor Swift fans from across the globe.
He was already nearby when he was arrested.
And we're now headed into the last 3 months of the presidential campaigns before the general election in November. Both Kamala Harris's campaign and Donald Trump's are still on the presidential trail, and we have the latest updates.
Y'all ready?
The Democratic ticket is zoning in on swing states this week. Vice President Kamala Harris and her running mate Minnesota Governor Tim Walz were in Arizona Friday. That's the 4th battleground state for the pair this week. The two are then headed for Nevada Saturday. Harris's campaign also aired a new ad Friday representing her as being tough on the border crisis. Meanwhile, former President Trump will rally in Montana later Friday. His appearance in the deep red state isn't necessarily for his own campaign, but rather to support GOP Senate candidate Tim Sheehy's bid against incumbent Democratic Senator Jon Tester. Trump is also scheduled to attend campaign fundraisers in Montana and Colorado. But the former president said Thursday that he won't hold any more campaign rallies until after the Democratic National Convention at the end of August. He has joined phone and podcast interviews over the past week, leaving his running mate J.D. Vance to hold small-scale press remarks in swing states. And here's what President Biden had to say about the upcoming debate between Trump and Harris.
How confident are you in beating Harris debating Trump? Are you confident in Vice President Harris debating Trump? In debating Trump, are you confident in Vice President Harris?
Biden and Harris next week will make their first trip together since Biden ended his candidacy. The White House announced this morning that they'll head to Maryland on August 15th for an event to discuss American prices. They did not disclose the location or more specifics. Biden and Harris have appeared briefly together since the president ended his re-election bid, including an excursion to welcome home U.S. citizens released from Russian prisons. They also held a meeting earlier this week to discuss the situation in the Middle East, along with a lunch date last week. Taking more steps to lower costs is one area Biden wants to focus on in the final months of his presidency. And Special Counsel Jack Smith is asking the federal judge of Trump's January 6th case for a delay. Prosecutors say that Smith's office wants more time to decide how to proceed. That's after the Supreme Court's ruling on presidential immunity. Smith's office says they're still working through what the ruling means for them. NTD's Jeremy Sandberg has the latest update on Trump's federal election case.
Special Counsel Jack Smith's office, in a new filing Thursday, asked the court to extend the deadline for the next status report to the end of August. Prosecutors wrote the government is assessing the new precedent set in the Supreme Court's decision on presidential immunity. The prosecution in its filing stated the defense didn't object to the request for a delay. This after the Supreme Court ruled in June 6-3 that presidents have immunity from criminal prosecution for official acts. D.C. District Judge Tanya Chutkan had earlier disagreed that presidents are immune from criminal prosecution. The case was on hold for roughly 7 months during appeal. Chutkan told government and defense attorneys to collaborate on a proposal for next steps in the case after the Supreme Court sent the case back to her last month. Chutkan said Trump is not required to attend the hearing that she scheduled next Friday. It would be the first time the case is back in court since the presidential immunity ruling. A delay would push any activity in the case into September at the earliest, just months before the presidential election. Jeremy Sandberg, NTD News.
And a pivotal moment for independent presidential candidate Robert F. Kennedy Jr. A judge is set to decide whether Kennedy will appear on the election ballot for New York. NTD's Chris Spears has the story.
New York State Supreme Court Justice Christina Reba will soon rule on whether RFK Jr. falsely claimed he has a New York residence. Lawyers representing several New Yorkers say Kennedy has resided in LA since 2014, but he stated on his nomination petitions that he lives in New York. A Board of Elections spokesperson said if the judge rules against Kennedy, he will not appear on the ballot in New York. After leaving the courthouse yesterday, Kennedy said he has lived in the state since 1964. Though his home address is in California, Kennedy said he always planned to return to New York. He also said he rents a room at a friend's house in Katona, New York.
And federal food safety officials say that 3 have now died due to a listeria outbreak food poisoning case. The officials say the outbreak was linked to Boar's Head deli meat, and the total number of sick people has rose to 43. The CDC said yesterday the additional death happened in Virginia. The other 2 deaths were in New Jersey and Illinois. They also said 9 more cases were reported since an update about the outbreak at the end of last month. The outbreak started in late May, and Boar's Head recalled 7 million pounds of deli meats in late July. The CDC said New York health officials tested a liverwurst sample and found the same strain of listeria as the one in Maryland. The recall includes more than 70 products made at the company's plant in Virginia. Boar's Head already faces 2 lawsuits over the outbreak, one in a Missouri court and the other a class action lawsuit in New York. And a new announcement from the California Governor Gavin Newsom. He says he will start redirecting money from local agencies if they don't show any results in reducing homelessness.
California's Governor Gavin Newsom with the state's transportation department were trying to clear homeless encampments Thursday.
I'm here on behalf of 40 million Californians that are fed up. I'm here because I'm one of them. I want to see results. I don't want to read about them. I don't want to see the data. I want to see it by believing it, by seeing people that are back up on their feet, and to get those streets clean, get those tents off the streets, the encampments off the streets, and to begin once again to feel pride about our state.
Standing in front of a cleared homeless encampment in Los Angeles, Newsom said he would start taking state funding away from cities that are not doing enough to move people out of encampments and into a shelter.
This is not about criminalization. What's criminal is neglecting people that are struggling and suffering and dying on our watch. That's criminal.
Newsom issued an executive order in July calling on state agencies to take down encampments and urging local governments to address them. He said some local jurisdictions are not doing enough despite the resources provided by the state. He added money could start being redirected next year when the state starts forming its budget proposals. California is home to roughly 1/3 of the nation's population of homeless people. The Public Policy Institute of California says there are an estimated 180,000 people experiencing homelessness in the state. David Lamb, NTD News.
And Texas is ordering hospitals to disclose exactly how much it costs to care for illegal immigrants. Governor Greg Abbott has issued an executive order to find out. The order mandates that Texas Health and Human Services put together data on hospital visits by people living in the U.S. illegally. Abbott said on social media, Texans should not have to foot the bill for illegal immigrants' health care. The order states Texas will seek to be reimbursed by the federal government. Hospitals in the state will start collecting information starting November 1st, and the order also states hospitals will have to inform patients that this will not affect patient care. The FDA has given the go-ahead for a new nasal spray used in emergencies to treat near-fatal allergic reactions. The spray would eliminate the need to use an EpiPen for someone suffering from an allergic reaction. ARS Pharmaceuticals is marketing the drug under the name Neffy. The spray has a life-saving drug called epinephrine used to treat anyone suffering from anaphylaxis. Anaphylaxis is a severe allergic reaction to things like food or insect bites. It causes your body's immune system to overreact. Neffy, used in one dose into one nostril, provides emergency relief. The spray is expected to be available in the US in 8 weeks. When we come back, the UK may look to toughen social media laws in the wake of nearly 2 weeks of protests and riots. Malcolm Hudson has the latest from London. As the Paris 2024 Olympics comes to a close, US athletes and supporters look back on their memorable experiences. Some say the French capital has set the bar high for the next games, which will be held in Los Angeles. That and more after the break.
Es temporada de influenza otra vez. Si usted es como la mayoría de las personas, debe tener preguntas. Es muy importante recibir una vacuna anual porque las vacunas contra la influenza se actualizan anualmente para que funcionen contra los virus de ese año. El mejor momento para recibir su vacuna es en otoño, pero recibirla después todavía puede ayudar.
No young person should ever have to worry about having a safe place to sleep at night, or a warm meal to eat, or whether anyone cares about them.
I grew up in poverty, and I actually became physically homeless right after I had turned 16.
I didn't have anywhere to sleep, and I didn't really have friends or family that could support me.
To be homeless as a teen, I didn't ask for that.
1 in 10 young adults will experience a form of homelessness this year, and that's unacceptable. But the good news is there is an organization making a big difference. Covenant House.
For the young people who didn't ask to be put in unthinkable situations, Covenant House is there providing safety, hope, and a brighter future. Call or go online now. For a gift of only $19 a month, just 63 cents a day, you can provide hot meals, safe shelter, medical care, and love.
For over 50 years, Covenant House has been helping youth in crisis and giving them the support and tools they need to succeed in life.
Without the Covenant House, I honestly could not tell you where I would be today.
Call or go online right now to safeplacetosleep.org with your gift of just $19 a month. With your monthly donation, you'll receive this soft, comforting blanket as a reminder of the warmth and safety your gift will provide a young person tonight.
I would not be here today if it weren't for the kindness of strangers, people who donated to Covenant House so that they could support me when I couldn't support myself.
I have no words to express how Covenant House changed my life.
Your monthly gift is urgently needed to reach young people in communities like yours who didn't ask to be put in unthinkable situations.
Your support makes the work of Covenant House possible.
Call or go online to safeplacetosleep.org with your gift of just $19 a month.
The 7th NTD International Piano Competition will take place at the Kaufman Music Center in New York City. Pianists from around the world will come together to revive the great piano masterpieces. Join us on this uplifting journey. The semifinals, finals, and the winner's concert will be open to audiences and live streamed from October 17th to the 19th. Get tickets now at 212-501-3330.
Welcome back. A dramatic explosion at one of the busiest ports in China today. The blast happened on a cargo ship docked at the Ningbo Zhoushan port near Shanghai. The shockwaves could be felt half a mile away. According to Chinese state-run media, a container exploded on the ship, which was loaded with hazardous goods, and a surveillance camera caught it all. The ship belongs to a Taiwanese company. It confirmed that the ship caught fire shortly after noontime while it was operating in the port. Chinese state-run media said no injuries have been reported. NTD cannot independently verify this due to the Chinese regime's history of underreporting casualties caused by accidents. The United Kingdom is looking to toughen social media laws to tackle misinformation and other problematic content. It comes in the wake of nearly 2 weeks of protests and riots.
Britain's government is looking to review social media laws following the recent riots that spread across the country. There have been calls for tougher regulation after false information quickly spread about the identity of the knife attack suspect who allegedly killed 3 young girls. Speaking about social media, Prime Minister Keir Starmer said,
"This is not a law-free zone. I do agree that we're going to have to look more broadly at social media after this disorder, but the focus at the moment has to be on dealing with the disorder and making sure that our communities are safe and secure."
A top prosecutor said reposting, repeating or amplifying a message which is false, threatening or stirs up racial or religious hatred could result in the police paying people a visit. Britain's media watchdog Ofcom has urged social media companies to deal with content stirring up hatred or provoking violence on Britain's streets. And Mayor of London Sadiq Khan said they should do a better job of stopping misinformation.
They should think about their algorithms. They should do a better job of taking down disinformation. Not just X, by the way. There are other social media platforms as well that we know are being used to propagate hatred.
Protests and riots broke out across Britain after 3 young girls were killed and several more injured in a knife attack. The protests were sparked in part by fake information the suspect was a radical Muslim asylum seeker, and in part due to deep-rooted discontent over British immigration policy. Malcolm Hudson, NTD News, London.
As NASA and Boeing work to get the crew of the Starliner capsule back to Earth, NASA's Inspector General is questioning the aerospace company's standards and quality controls. The IG said Boeing's quality control systems at Michoud don't meet NASA's standards. The report added that a number of known problems persist and make recommendations to NASA leadership, like instituting financial penalties for Boeing's non-compliance and performing a detailed cost overrun analysis. NASA tapped Boeing to build part of the rocket for the space agency's Artemis program. The mission aims to return astronauts to the moon. The Boeing Starliner's 2-person crew is stuck at the International Space Station due to thruster issues and helium leaks. NASA is considering using a SpaceX capsule to bring them back. Boeing says its capsule could bring the astronauts back safely, but it would do whatever necessary to bring the capsule back empty if that's what NASA prefers. From Olympic silver to social media sensation, Turkish shooter Yusuf Dikeç's calm exterior hides a storm within. He drew attention worldwide for his cool and serene demeanor at the mixed team 10-meter air pistol event in Paris. NTD's Andrew Thomas has more.
Yusuf Dikeç impressed spectators and television viewers with his nonchalant pose. Instead of the high-tech gear his competitors used, Dikeç opted for a simple yellow earplug and regular glasses.
At that moment, everyone says I seemed very calm, but actually, storms were raging inside me. It is very hard to describe the pressure, the tension. The calmness is just a look reflecting outside, but the reality has nothing to do with it.
The serene sharpshooter also got into an exchange with Elon Musk. Sharing a photo from the Olympics, Dikeç said, "Hi Elon, do you think future robots can win medals at the Olympics with their hands in their pockets?" Musk responded, "Robots will hit the center of the bullseye every time."
It is a very big success regardless of where it takes place on Earth. When I am writing to Elon Musk, I did not write it as Yusuf Dikeç, but to highlight my country, and mentioned Istanbul as a cultural capital connecting the continents as a brand. And he gave a positive response. If God willing, we will meet in a very short amount of time.
Dikeç said he and his partner will win the gold at the 2028 Games in Los Angeles. Andrew Thomas, NTD News.
And 2 days ahead of the Olympic closing ceremony, the last remaining athletes and American visitors are preparing to say goodbye to Paris. Many say they had a great time in the French capital, which raises the bar high for how Los Angeles will organize the Games in 2028. NTD's international correspondent David Vives has the story.
With the Games winding down, athletes were seen gradually leaving the Olympic Village. Many described their experience as amazing and incredible, even as the event nears its end. U.S. rowing athlete Michelle Zegzer said she appreciates staying a bit in the capital, taking time after her contest to visit the city and get used to having a baguette for breakfast.
The food's been delicious. I've tried a few things that are new to me. They have a really nice espresso cart and a boulangerie with the best baguettes I've ever had in my life. So I really enjoy the fresh baguettes in the morning. Really nice to not just have the Olympics, but also get to see the history of the city and the culture of the French and the countrymen, that to see their food, see their architecture. It's so beautiful.
Next to Team USA headquarters, US tourists said the Paris Games has left them with surprises and amazement.
I think our best experience was walking through Paris, and we walked over toward the Eiffel Tower and went in the Parc du Champion, I think that's how you say it, and it was the outdoor venue next to the Eiffel Tower.
The way the opening ceremony was staged, it wasn't the typical stadium, and where the Olympic cauldron is lit, it's in a beautiful garden. So I think that's a very different Olympics in a good way,
In an interview for L'Equipe, Los Angeles 2028 organizer Kaze Wasserman said Paris has set the bar high for the Olympics, notably with contests taking place at the foot of landmarks monuments. As for athletes and supporters, they also have their take on that matter. For Eric, this could even be better in the US.
I would think because it's Los Angeles, maybe it's become more Hollywood. I would predict so. Very action-oriented Hollywood, yes.
I don't know. I doubt it, but just a different venue. I think what they've done here kind of sets the stage, and we'll see what the future holds.
I hope that the USA will also do a fantastic job following the footsteps of France. We don't have the public transit. Like, for example, I've been taking the metro today, and it's so easy to navigate. They have it well marked, and it makes it easy to see all the different monuments and the different stadiums.
The Paris 2024 Summer Olympics will officially close on Sunday, August 11th. David Vives, NTD News, Paris.
Thank you for watching NTD Newsroom. I'm Fiona G. Join Tiffany Meyer for the NTD Evening News at 6 p.m. Eastern, 3 Pacific. Have a nice weekend.